Well, I think the Ferrari owners are very passionate and fairly dedicated to deal, especially with dealing with the modern Ferraris and dealing with Ferrari as a company. They're really good at selling cars and selling just one less than there are buyers. I am Kevin Enderby. This is a 1997 355 GTS stick shift car. This is my first new Ferrari that I bought. It has had a tough history in life. It's been totaled twice, put back together. It's still a concours car today. It was my former track car for 8 or 9 years, like everything I own. But it's now just a street car with just short of 200,000 miles, 199 something. So I just tend to like cars. I don't give up on them. It's as I said previously, it's kind of like delinquent children. If you going through rehab, you stick with them. You can't get another one. So as long as they're running, I'm now deep in a pocket. I can fix almost anything. So if you fix a totaled car and bring it back to a concours car, that's a pretty big lift. So fortunately, I also knew a lot of really, really good people. So that's the key thing, is to have a village of people that can do these kinds of things and fix cars that were truly almost unfixable. But it's from a maintenance point of view, it's got its issues. So it's not a car people drive. So because it's got rubber belts and it's an engine out service to change that. So that's kind of the killer. So then there's a lot of systemic problems on the cars, parts that burn through and routinely, and it gets pricey keeping it on the road and keeping it running. So. Yeah, the worst one was on a charity drive. We were on it's Ferrari Owners Group. They do a big charity drive, mostly for Make-A-Wish every year, and we're heading to Santa Barbara. We're going over 17. We're going to go down Highway 1, and just at the crest of Summit Road, cars were dead stopped on the other side of the road. So we're doing 50 miles an hour. We come over the crest, and we're braking like mad. My friend in a 360 in front of me is braking as hard as he could. I'm braking as hard as I could. And I thought I was going to come to a stop until the two Porsches slammed into me from behind and pushed 5 cars together. So it was pretty ugly. My painter is actually just a few miles from there, so we towed it up to him. He's up in Lone Parada. So then he drove me all the way home. Then I got in another car and drove all the way down Santa Barbara. But it was a tough call whether to fix. It was basically going to be the value of the car plus to fix it. The engine was ripped from the engine mount, slammed into the back of the firewall. So it was pretty ugly. I got it to my painter. He took all the broken pieces off, and then we towed it to my mechanic, and he picked up the engine and put it back into position, took all the headers and everything off, and all the bent pieces, bought a new rear cover for the transmission, and it ran. So he drove it around the block, just sitting there. He goes, "Yep, it runs. We can fix it if you really want to." So it was about two and a half years to fix it, and we finished it up 2 weeks before the Ferrari National Meet Concours in Monterey. We brought all 3 cars there and went triple platinum with 3 cars, plus won the top award with one of the other cars, car and driver on track. So that was fun. I've always been of the feeling, and my dad taught me this way, things are meant to be used. And so when I bought my first Ferrari, I drove it every day to work. And then when I bought a second one, I would rotate them. And I bought a third one, we would just rotate them. At the end, my job kind of sucked. So so that was kind of the best part of the day, going and coming. About a 30-minute drive in a Ferrari all the way back and forth to work. But when this was the new car at the time, the Spider was not out yet. The Spider was also a car that you would typically not be able to take on a racetrack because it didn't have rollover protection. I needed a GTS car so I could fit in the car with a helmet on. Technically, today they would not let me drive that. I stick out of the car a little bit too far. I was looking at other cars. I was looking at, believe it or not, I was looking at Ferrari F40s at the time. It would have been a bit of a stretch. This was actually a better car for me because I could use it more daily and use it everywhere and do a lot of tours and things like that with it. It was a capable car on track. This was really the first car of the Ferrari 3 Series that was good. They were pretty marginal, as they got from the 308, 328, 348, and they were just getting a little bit better. This is the first time the knee of the curve really went vertical. So this was 355 was just so much faster, so much quicker than so much better car than the earlier cars. And then they continued like that. You know, the 360, the 430, the 458, all were just it's astounding how they can raise the bar of a very, very high bar to raise, you know. So the only problem with this car, it's a short wheelbase car, so it's a very twitchy car at the limit, you know. And so to drive this well took a lot of skill, which at that time I barely had. I'm a little better driver now, but I've done some pretty amazing spins in this car because it's just a little too short. And if you get it out of shape, it's almost impossible to bring back. It's kind of like an old 911 that's tail happy. If it gets out of shape, you're probably not bringing it back. The only thing I do usually to street cars is get a set of race tires and usually have a race seat, you know, fabricated in there, and put harnesses, 5.6 harnesses in the car. So just feel a bit safer. Well, actually, mostly feel a bit connected to the car. It's not that much safer, but it is definitely, you feel what you can feel when you're driving, what's going on with the car. That's the hardest thing. If you're in a couch-like seat, you can't really tell what the car is doing underneath you. So. This car has power steering. So if you're going to take it on a tight, twisty road, this car is great, except it is what as we call vertically challenged. It is very low to the ground. It's got a long front nose. So it is not great on bad roads. It's better on bad roads in some cars because it's not super crazy low profile tires, but it can be, you know, a bit of a harsh road if you're driving on bad roads. And one of my car clubs is the Fiat Club. These guys find the worst roads known to mankind. They've even actually outdid themselves on the last tour. Not only do they drive on the worst roads from mankind, they occasionally find flooded roads. You know, just stay on the top of the crown. It's really relatively shallow for a few hundred yards. It's like, okay. So after 6 of those water crossings, we were on dry roads again. So. This one has a soft setting, so it's very much like your normal shocks with the knob on the top, but it's worse because there's a solenoid that drives it, and that solenoid fails. So the gears break because they're plastic, which someone makes some aluminum gears. The motor breaks and the circuit board breaks. And there are 4 corners in the car, and if they break, then you get a shock light on the car, and it stays in whatever mode it happens to be in. So it's more annoying than catastrophic. So it's not like it's going to fail to run. It's just going to be like, oh, I got a shock light on. So I had that problem with this car on the way to the Ferrari National meet in Arizona. We thought we had fixed it. I get to the Arizona border. I'm cruising along. I get a shock light, and that would have thrown me out of some of the meet. So I fixed it by taking apart the dash, taking out the light bulb. Shock light does not come on anymore. Judges didn't know. When you turn on the car, it comes on for a brief second, unless you're a 355 owner and know exactly how long it comes on and when it comes on. You would never see it. So the Hillsborough Concours brings great Ferraris out. You know, it's hard to even get accepted because they only have 2 classes, and there are some great collectors in the Bay Area. So, you know, you'll occasionally see some incredible cars, you know, out of restoration, ex-Pebble Beach cars. That's a hard competition to beat, you know. So my longest drive in this car was out to Scottsdale, Arizona for the Ferrari National meet in 2019. That was to try to win the Copa GT again, which I've only won once. I won it at my 430. This car has been a contender quite a few times, but not quite there. It's always funny because it comes down to, you know, what the judges are looking for, and that one's really bizarrely judged because I brought this car to Indianapolis for the national meet there, and I lost the Copa GT for over aggressive driving, which to me is hard to imagine on a racetrack, but okay. But then I lost in 2019 for driving too slowly. In this car, but I think it's all, you know, because it was the only 355 there, so it's like they're much modern, more faster cars. This car really is not that fast compared to the modern car. So, and also I had 1,000 miles to drive home, so I didn't want to break it. Wasn't going on a trailer.